Oh yeah, so my challenge earlier was what would be like what would be in like the weirdest trail mix ever? Like if you were camping with somebody and they pulled out, they're like, "Here, have some of this mix." What would be the mix? What would be in the mix?
Well,
So earlier I
yeah.
was eating Skittles, and you've been eating wasabi peas all the fucking time. So
I'm addicted to wasabi peas right now.
so imagine like Skittles, wasabi peas, maybe like an olive.
One olive. A surprise olive.
Yeah, there's an your friend passes you a bag of trail mix. It's Skittles, wasabi peas, and one olive in the middle of the bag that you just randomly get throughout the someone will get it at some point while eating.
And instead of granola, it's just uncooked grits.
Ew, that's like sand. Yeah, part of my trail mix
Or
is
cooked
sand.
grits.
We could also have like a trail mix of nugs.
I think that's just a bag of nuggets. Nugs. Y'all ever
Nugs, bananas, banana slices.
Who here's tried nugs?
Raise your hand.
Craig and I are both raising our hand. If you haven't tried nugs, go to your local grocery store. Use promo code popcorn and get yourself some fucking nugs.
Yeah, guys, we're actually sponsored by Nugs now. We're sitting on a throne of Nug boxes that they comped us. So, shouts out to Nugs.
Shouts out to nugs.
I owe someone a shout out. What should we call him? Let's call him the Glass Man. Shouts out to the Glass Man. You know who you are. Props for helping me out the other day.
I want to shout out to Dom, who's been listening to our podcast and saying really, really nice and supportive things.
Our biggest fan.
Our biggest fan, Def. She's listened to every episode. What episode are you on, viewer? Yeah, that's what I fucking thought. You're not as dedicated as Dom, so. But we love you, Dom. Thank you. We also have Instagram now. I don't know if y'all know, but it's mpgp_podcast. And Craig is the social media manager, and I post sometimes too.
I just want to give a big shout out to Barbara Crampton right now. You were great in Reanimator. You were great in From Beyond. Thank you for the Instagram follow. It means a lot.
We love you, Barbara. Also, this podcast is officially from today on. Today is Monday, March 1st. So you can get the MPGP podcast on Apple Podcasts. And I guess if you are an Apple Podcast person, if you could maybe write reviews on our podcast and subscribe and shit, maybe, we can reach number 1 on the...
That's all new to me. I don't really even listen to that many podcasts, so I'm pretty new to the podcasting world. I was listening to them on Spotify though. So on Spotify you can't write a review of the podcast in the comments.
Oh, yeah. But
it's kind of a passive thing.
I think in Apple Podcasts you can. I know, the last time I listened to a podcast on Apple Podcasts was, My Favorite Murder when I first started listening to it. And they would always talk about, rating and subscribing shit. So I feel like that's what we should do. So
yeah.
This is us doing that. We're being podcasters, okay? Fuck.
So, should we just go ahead and say what movie we're going to be talking about? It should be obvious if you've kept up on our Instagram page or, listened to the previous episodes. But we're going to be doing
Friday the 13th, Part 3. 3D. There's a lot of 3D in this movie. If you have the capabilities of seeing this movie in 3D, y'all should, because there's a lot. There's a lot of 3D kills. There's a lot of 3D, just gratuitous 3D bullshit, but it's
Yeah, I would say
it's
there's
fun.
more 3D bullshit than 3D kills. If you want to see some yo-yoing at the camera, this is the 3D movie for you.
True.
Super 3D.
Yeah, so I guess just some production facts. Should we go into
Production fact.
the production facts section of our podcast? So Steve Miner, who directed the second installment of the franchise, also directed this installment. And something that I thought was interesting, and also Craig, we are both obviously huge Ginny stans, and if you listen to part 2, or if you know Friday the 13th, then you would know that Ginny Field is one of the best final girls in history. The concept, I think, followed Ginny into a mental institution where Jason somehow followed her there and killed off people, and she had like a final showdown with him.
Yeah, it seemed like it just made me think of Nightmare on Elm Street Part 3, The Dream Warriors. Pretty iconic third slasher movie trope there. But that one didn't happen.
When in doubt, just put the final girl in a mental institution. So, we do not get the Ginny Field story. We do not get a sequel featuring our girl Ginny.
Instead, we get a somewhat formulaic slasher movie instead. But it's still
great.
It's almost like a distillation of all of the slasher, like Friday the 13th tropes so far. Like sex, teens, drugs, like all of those things are tropes in this movie, right?
Yeah.
Jason, slow-mos, Crystal Lake.
We don't get our girl Ginny. We don't get her, well, except for like a little summary scene at the beginning of this movie, which is like basically the final scene of Friday the 13th Part 2. But yeah, instead it focuses on a new group of teens, this time in like a lake house setting called Higgins Haven.
We're still in the same general area.
The Crystal Lake area.
Crystal Lake is nearby. We're in the woods of New Jersey.
Yes.
And we're in a nearby cottage, like cabin.
A little lake house cabin called Higgins Hideaway, where the main character, Chris Higgins, her family owns this house. Her and her group of friends are going up there. And
they're aware or unaware of what has gone down on this lake?
I think at the very least, Chris kind of knows because she was attacked by Jason. But we'll get into that later. Let's just start by talking about our cast of teens. We have our main girl, Chris Higgins, or Chrissy Higgins. Brunette, seems pretty cool, good head on her shoulders. So I would say that, like, Chris is motivated by facing her fear and trauma of being attacked by Jason 2 years before, like...
Yeah, I guess there was that whole scene where she's, like, superimposed on the image of Jason chasing her in the woods.
Yeah. So, yeah, our girl Chris has some weird baggage, and she's trying to go back to her childhood home on Crystal Lake to face her fears and just, like, stop being, like, I guess just to like face her trauma head on and just try to like heal from it, basically. So that was like the point of them going up there. So
Really?
yeah, that was she was like, we gotta go. And then also like there's like, there's kind of like a weird couple thing going on. Like it's like sort of like a couple's getaway, but also like Chris was like trying to face her trauma and stuff. So then there's Chris's boyfriend Rick, who I think is a huge asshole.
Yeah, he seems like a fucking alpha male
Yeah.
douchebag. Like, yeah, he just seemed like a jerk.
Definitely into bacon.
Bacon sexual.
And then we have Shelly, who is the goofball, like weirdo prankster that owns a lot of masks.
Yeah, Shelly.
Shelly.
Shelly, the juggling, mask collecting prop
Clown.
artist.
Then we have Debbie, who is pregnant.
Is there anything about her?
She literally says, okay, so when they're driving in the van, y'all, like up to Higgins' hideaway, there's two stoners in the group, which I'll go into later, but they offer her weed and she's like, oh no, I'm pregnant. It's like a blink and you miss it type of line.
Just to make it
basically.
more shocking when she gets fucking murdered.
Yeah. Tough stuff for Debbie. Tough stuff. So then we have Andy, who is Debbie's boyfriend and soon to be baby daddy. And our boy Andy loves doing handstands and also being kind of like a weird clown.
He's in the circus with Shelly.
Yeah. Then there's Vera, who Shelly has a crush on. And I think they like set Vera up to like have like a blind date to this like lake house escape rendezvous thing, and she's like, ew. Like not into Shelly at all. Don't blame her. Then we have Chuck, who's the stoner. He's like a stoner dude, and Chili, who's his like fiance, who's also a stoner. They're literally smoking weed the entire movie. Then there is a like biker gang that is comprised of 3 members named Ali, Fox, and Loco. And then we have some townies. We have Edna Hockett and Harold Hockett and Abel. So,
Wait, which one is the Crazy Ralph stand-in?
Abel.
Really?
Yeah.
Abel is like a 10 times worse version of Crazy Ralph.
Yeah.
Whereas I want to know Crazy Ralph's entire origin story. I just want to see Abel die immediately.
Well, you don't get to see... Spoiler alert, we never see Abel die. He's like the messenger or whatever. All right, shall we go right ahead and glaze through the fucking plot?
Get to glazing.
Aight. So, the movie starts with the final scene from Friday the 13th Part 2, where we get to see Ginny pretending to be Mrs. Voorhees again, and, we see her hit him with the machete, and we see him left, like, in the shack. We're in Jason's shack the whole time, so we don't, like, see the final, like, pop-out moment that we got in the second movie, but, we're just, like... I think the camera's just, like, on Jason's body, and then we see him, like, get up, and then it just zooms into Mrs. Voorhees' head on the altar, and then the title like comes out of her eyeballs in 3D. So it goes like Friday the 13th in like the left eye, and then part 3 in the right eye. And I was like,
and then the disco theme starts playing.
Oh yeah, the fucking okay. Let's try to find that because it's really good. do 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 do.
Wow.
Did a little slow fade out there. So that shit's fire. So that shit
there's a
slaps.
lot of inconsistencies though with like their recap and shit. And
yeah.
Like they don't show everything is what I mean.
Yeah. Like they don't show
like what really happened was they didn't show him jumping back through the window.
Yeah.
And Jason's face, they don't show that in this movie. They like cuz Jason looks different.
Yeah. Jason is basically, it's not as large of a, okay, so like if we're thinking about how Jason looked at the end of Friday the 13th, the first movie, and then jumping ahead like 5 years to the second movie where he's like long-haired, like half kind of hot lumberjack daddy.
Like I said in the last episode too, it jumps ahead 22 years. That Jason you saw in Friday the 13th 1 is a vision she had.
Oh.
Where because that was the same Jason that you see in the flashback of him drowning.
Yeah.
And then he comes back up
from the water. Oh,
we've
already talked about
so he's a child.
Yeah.
And then 22 years go by, and then they try to reopen the camp, and Jason has been surviving in the woods. That's part 2. And he's older, and he, I guess, hasn't shaved in a while or cut his hair.
After a series of 3D credits, the film picks back up literally the night after the events of part 2. Jason is unmasked. He is out on the town looking for some new digs, and he heads to a little lakefront store owned by a married couple named Harold and Edna. And something that I noticed is that Edna looks like she's in her like 20s, but they're making her like act like she's like 57 years old and has been married for like 30 years.
I think she's just supposed to be white trash.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, she seems like she's like, Harold! Like, she's like putting on like an old lady voice or something.
That's just white trash folk.
Oh, yeah?
That's me. That's my people.
That's your people's, Craig? So...
They're a quirky couple.
Her husband seems kind of...
He's eating fish food.
He eats fish food.
Fish flakes.
Yeah, he just like basically eats everything in the store, but just like it's like COVID-19 like worst nightmare. He's literally like swishing around like OJ and putting it back on the shelf and stuff.
Yeah.
He's a gross guy.
He drinks from the bottle, let's just put it that way.
He also like has a little pet bunny, and I think he was checking on, I think he had more than one pet bunny, but when he went to look at the rabbit cage, he saw that they were all dead, and then we get a 3D snake strike. Like, the snake was just in the rabbit cage and killed all the rabbits. And that was like, I feel like that was like our first 3D thing that we see. Our first 3D pop.
Yeah, maybe.
Or at least the first one that's super noticeable. I mean, we did not watch it in 3D, so it's kind of like hard to tell unless they're like super exaggerated, which a lot of them are, but...
I'd imagine the first, maybe the recap was 3D. That would be interesting.
Yeah.
But I imagine the first 3D move is the title screen, and then probably the snake.
Yeah, beside, yeah. So after he sees all of his bunnies be
Brutalized.
be dead.
All of his bunnies. After he sees all of his bunnies be dead.
I think he like goes to the bathroom and then he like sees something.
He's drinking liquor
Oh, yeah.
on the toilet.
Yeah.
His pants are down, he's taking a dump, and he's drinking some
Jack Daniels.
or something.
And he gets a cleaver right to the chest with our first human death of the movie. So, thoughts on that one?
It was, it was the first kill of the movie. I was like, it's pretty good, I guess.
Yeah.
And it's fast. It comes up fast. Like, the movie starts, he gets killed.
Yeah.
But the next one's even better.
So, our girl Edna goes to scope shit out, and she's looking. There's like a 3D rat situation going. There's lots of 3D. There's a lot of gratuitous 3D shots, and we're gonna try to call them all out. But yeah. So she like sees a rat with like beady red eyes, like that's like perched on the edge of a wood thing. And she, like, is really grossed out by it. And she kind of backs up against a door that has, like, a window. And then all of a sudden, we see Jason's hand go through and grab her face. And then he puts a knitting needle through the back of her head. And the needle goes all the way through, like, through his fingers. So you can see it, like, sticking out. So...
God.
From that, Edna passes away. That's a pretty good one.
That one is good because she gets killed with her own fucking utensil.
Yeah.
And, I mean, it's fucked up. But also, at first we were like, what the fuck did he just kill her with? And I was like, oh yeah, that's her knitting.
Yeah, I think we watched it back twice because we weren't sure.
Like, what the fuck just happened? It's pretty quick, but... Well, you only see the instrument for a moment, you know? As it were.
As it were. As it were. So, the next day, Chris Higgins and her friends travel to Higgins Haven, her old home on Crystal Lake. Did you know okay, this is a sidebar. Did you know anyone that had like a lake house or anything, being from the South? Did you have any lake house friends?
I knew of them. I didn't know them because those people are rich.
Yeah. I had one lake house friend. Shout out to Hunter. We would go on Lake
You
Burton.
rich bastard.
Yeah, well, his, like, aunt's rich or something. And so it's actually a really nice fucking house. It has, like, a little boat house, like, with, like, a bunch of beds and stuff. This would definitely be where, like, Jason would have a fucking field day.
Killing
everyone at Hunter's Lake House.
Wow, Haley.
Yeah, maybe I should not think about this fucked up shit. Sorry if you're listening, Hunter, or any of my friends. Yeah, so they're going to Higgins fucking Haven. And...
Unofficial title.
Yeah. And they're going... I think it's the official title.
No, Higgins fucking Haven.
Oh. And they're going to spend the weekend. The gang includes pregnant Debbie, her boyfriend Andy, prankster Shelly, his blind date Vera, who does not reciprocate his feelings, and stoners Chuck and Chili. On their way to the house, 2 cop cars pull up behind them, so they all proceed to eat the weed that Chuck and Chili brought with them. But the cops are just like passing them by and they're actually checking out the murder of Edna and Harold. But I thought it was so fucking funny that they just like literally panicked and everyone ate the weed, like except for Debbie and maybe Chris, because she's like a goody two shoes. But the gang stumbles upon a man giving off big Crazy Ralph energy, sleeping in the middle of the road. He shows them an eyeball in 3D, of course, and heeds a warning. Look upon this omen and go back from whence you came. I have warned thee. I have warned thee. So apparently Jason, or he might have found this eyeball, but he had, from my understanding of it, he had contact with Jason.
I think Abel is just a 2-bit Crazy Ralph impersonator.
Damn.
Abel is just on the fucking side of the road, or like in the road, laying down drunk, passed out. They see him come up and he's just grasping an eyeball. and he's very cryptic. He says he gave this to me. He warned, or he told me to warn you, or something like that, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, what? So Jason just saw you, spared your life, but put an eyeball in your hand? Like, I can't imagine Jason being gentle enough to even grasp an eyeball without exploding it in his hand and give it to a homeless man.
Truly wild scene. Don't really know if it was that necessary to include him, but maybe they just were like,
I feel like that's not how I see Jason giving warnings.
Yeah.
I imagine if Jason wanted to warn these people not to come, he would have just like decapitated Crazy Ralph, put his head on a stake, and put it in front of the camp or something.
And just like, that's it.
Or not Crazy Ralph.
That's it.
Abel.
That's the. Oh yeah.
Crazy Ralph 2.0.
Yeah. I mean, he could also do Crazy Ralph's head and Abel's head, and he could
all
just,
the heads. There's probably like at least 25 heads by now.
Yeah, I don't even think they ever found Jason's shack from the previous film. They don't really go into that.
Corpse shack.
The squad pulls up to the lake house and gets settled in, and we meet Chris's boyfriend, who is literally one of the biggest assholes in the history of cinema. I feel like this guy, like, takes everything that Chris... Like, I just don't like the way... First of all, I feel like he's, like... She walks in and he's immediately, like, such a dick to her. He, like, scares her after knowing... I'm pretty sure he knows that she was attacked in the woods, like, 2 years prior. And the first thing he does when she's returning to this place that holds a lot of fucking trauma is try to scare the shit out of her.
Well, he scares her, but then he also keeps trying to initiate sex with her, right? And she's like, I don't want to. And he's like, what, are we not gonna have sex all weekend? What the fuck is this? He's like getting conned out of sex.
He's a dickhead.
He's like, what the hell's wrong with you? Is that his voice? He's supposed to be a country boy, or at least there's one scene where he refers to himself as a country boy. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, you don't have a country accent at all.
This guy's from fucking New York.
We have a fucking country accent.
Listen to us. So after we meet fucking
Turbo douche.
Rick the big dick.
Turbo douche. Tiny dick Rick.
Shelly pulls the old axe, fake axe to the head gag, where he's hiding in a fucking like dresser.
At this point, every movie's had a like goofball jokester, right?
Yeah. I mean, that's like, I feel like one of the
I would say each movie, they get progressively more goofy.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
so
Shelly
far in
is
the series,
so
he's a goof.
Shelly is so weird. So after they're all settled in, Shelly and Vera go to a convenience store where we get a 3D wallet throw and meet a gang of chain punks who start fucking with them.
Well, let's say 2 chain and 1 egg.
2 chain and 1 egg. Who's the egg punk?
The egg punk is the one who gets killed the quickest. It's on the screen the least. Wearing like leopard print and shit.
Fox? The woman?
Oh no, the guy with the bullet belt.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Tight pants, bullet belt.
The guy
some
that
like
gets
leopard print.
Yeah. What's his face? That's Loco. Oh my god.
Yeah, he's the
Loco.
egg punk of the group. His name's Loco. He's definitely egg punk. The rest are chain punk and have visible chains on them.
Yeah. Especially Ali. So, basically, Shelly, when they're leaving, they're in a, like, yellow punch buggy, which is apparently Rick's. And Shelly accidentally backs up into the gang's, like, bikes. And Ali, like, grabs his, like, chain that's hanging around his neck and, like, smiles at Shelly, who, like, smiles back. And then he punches the windows of the bug in.
3D.
And
his chained fist coming at your face in the theater.
Which was crazy to watch. And then Shelly fucking pulls fucking some Fast Five shit and goes, and as like Ali is trying to rev up his fucking motorcycle to go like fuck with them more, Shelly runs over the guy's motorcycle. Yeah. And then like drives away.
And that makes you think of Fast Five?
I don't know. It makes me think of...
It's like Shelly like, is the Rock in that situation.
Oh my god.
Shelly is very similar to Vin Diesel, the Rock.
He gives off a Vin Diesel vibe. Later, the bikers show up while the teens are chilling, playing with yo-yos in 3D.
Of course.
And a bikini-clad and pregnant.
Sexy.
Although you would not know she was pregnant. Debbie leans into the van to go grab something, and we get another POV shot of someone's ass.
More Jason creeping.
Yeah, it's like implied that Jason was looking at her ass, but then
it's like shaky cam point of view.
Yeah, but that with the like theme too, like the. So, but then we see some feet prints under the van, and it turns out that the biker gang followed them back to Higgins Haven. And they are planning on taking all of the gas out of the van and burning down the barn on the property to get revenge on the teens. Fox goes into the barn first and is just like kind of fucking around. She's like looking at all the shit, and then she like starts swinging on like a rope that's like sort of hanging outside of the barn, and she's like fucking around with Loco, being like, look, wee, like whatever. And then Loco like looks away for a second and then looks back, and she's disappeared. So he's like, what the fuck? And then he goes to look, and he discovers Loco's body is, she got like pitchforked on the neck, like, and she's like pinned against like not like a pillar thing in the barn. Mm-hmm. And the camera like pans down, and you see that she's like hanging there. And Loco's like, what the fuck? And then Jason comes with a pitchfork, and we get a 3D pitchfork stab through the gut for our dude, Loco. and he, cigarette still in mouth, slowly dies, and then the cigarette drops out, and it's like has blood on it, which was kind of a cool touch, I thought.
I like the 3D pitchfork coming towards the camera.
Yeah, that was a good one. Can you just imagine being in the theater for this and just like hearing like the 80s audience being like, like whenever there's like a 3D thing?
That's my dream.
Take us back. If time travel ends up being real, like we're gonna fucking go see all of these fucking movies in theaters.
Yeah, I want to go be into like, I want to time travel just so I can experience all the cool shit I like when it was current.
That night, Chris and Rick head out into the woods, where Chris starts describing her being attacked by a deformed man who we all know is Jason in a flashback, and reveals that that's why she's returned, to confront her fears and escape the trauma. And Rick, I think, is literally like, okay, well, like, what about me? Because he's a fucking asshole, dude.
So while she's describing her trauma, this story, she like, Chris, or Rick just asks Chris like, what happened or something, and then she starts talking, and then slowly this effect comes on to, it's like a superimposed image of the story she's telling, and this like seamlessly happens. She starts talking, and then the scene is just one shot, and that she's just talking, and there's a superimposed video of Jason chasing her through the woods, and like it's like at half transparency or something.
Yeah, it's pretty.
And it's weird.
Yeah,
it's cool too, and you see Jason's face, and already you know like, what the fuck? Like, this is a few days after the previous movie. And I noticed it was weird that in the little recap they showed, they didn't show Jason's face. Like, that if they were going to show what happened in the previous movie, like, they didn't show hairy Jason in this movie, right? At all. And then you see Jason a few days later in this movie, and he's a fucking bald
and also
baby man.
Something to note is that Chris was attacked 2 years before the events of Friday the 13th Part 2.
Which means Jason has been living in the woods.
Yeah, but he was bald in the flashback.
So he was bald and then grew hair and a beard.
God.
And a bag mask. And then ditched the bag. Well, got killed, seemingly. And then ditched the bag mask.
Also, he was fucking bald in Friday the 13th Part 1 as well. Just being a child. Why did they give him, like, long ass... Okay. Back at Higgins Haven, the couple start pairing off after an impressive bout of 3D fruit juggling from Shelly and Andy. Shelly tries to put the moves on Vera, and she physically covers his mouth and tells him not to finish hitting on her. And Shelly calls her a bitch under his breath. So, fuck you, Shelly. Although it was a little rude of her to, like, literally be like... It was, like, a forceful, like, shut the fuck up. Like...
Yeah.
She should not have done that. She should have just been like, no... But he also is annoying, so
yeah, he's
whatever.
Annoying as fuck.
Yeah, and also just like...
He deserved it.
I don't know, I hate like basically all the men in this movie, so...
That guy, Shelly is literally an incel.
He is, dude.
Shelly's like, oh, none of the girls give me a chance. I'm great. They just need to give me a chance.
Yeah, and meanwhile he's like doing dumb shit, like pretending to be dead every 2 fucking seconds, so... And he does this shit. Okay, so while Vera is outside, like, hanging out by the lake, she gets scared by Shelly, who's, like, wearing a hockey mask, and he's holding a fucking, like, harpoon gun. He, like, grabs her foot, like, from...
Did you say a hockey mask?
Oh, my God. Wow. We got the hockey mask origin story, y'all.
Wait.
Oh.
You're telling me... one of these kids, Shelly,
if you will.
is one of these kids that's going to be killed by Jason is wearing a hockey mask.
Yes.
So you're telling me Shelly, the most annoying character
in the
canon, is the one who gives Jason his iconic look.
I am telling you that, Craig, and I am telling you that, listeners. Also, it's funny, we watched a little like bonus feature in the Friday the 13th movie collection, Scream Factory. Shouts out to that. We watched like one of the like DVD documentary or whatever things, and the actor that played Shelly was like in the thing. He was talking about how he gets like emails from people being like, you gave Jason the mask, and he's like a fucking lawyer now or some shit.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wow.
Our king
Shelly. It's also something interesting to note is that at the beginning of the movie when we're first introduced to all of the characters, like all the teens, Shelly's wearing like a creepy sort of like clear mask. So something like that I thought about was like how like it could have been like Jason could have been wearing like a different mask because Shelly
could have had any mask.
Yeah. Shelly collects masks.
I think, not completely sure because I don't know of the dates. I know this movie is 1982. Right? Yeah, it is. So, one of the earlier masks that Shelly wears is like a clear mask. It's like a woman's face with like blush and like eye makeup or something. And that clear mask looks like the Sweet Alice mask that the killer wears in that movie. Just another slasher movie.
Yeah. That's probably referencing it.
Which is like, it's just weird to think that. And also, the context in which he has a hockey mask in this movie is not anything to do with hockey.
Yeah.
At all. They're in the woods.
Oh, but apparently I read on the wiki, like the Friday the 13th wiki thing, that he actually is a hockey goalie, so it does make sense that he has a hockey mask.
That Shelly is?
Shelly's a goalie.
In the canon?
Yeah.
Where does it ever say that?
Dude, it says it in the Friday the 13th wiki. I swear
Maybe there's
to
a
God,
comic book where Shelly... There's like probably a one-issue comic book from like 1997 where Shelly like has a backstory.
He's in the game. He's in the
Oh,
game.
really?
Yeah,
Fuck.
the game that we're never gonna fucking play. Thanks a lot. Fucking... Well, we're not gonna get into that. Anyways. So...
Yeah, I think it's cool that Jason has a hockey mask. And whenever I think about like hockey masks and like fictional characters, I always think of Jason and Casey Jones from the Ninja Turtles. Oh. But he actually uses like hockey sticks and shit, so it makes sense. But Jason is just a fucking woodsman killer.
Yeah, there's no fucking sense with that one. But he likes the look, obviously.
Yeah.
So he loves the look because Shelly goes into the barn, and then we go back to Vera, who's chilling on the lake. She's looking through Shelly's wallet, and then she accidentally drops it in the lake, so she starts like walking into the water, and then we see a man, it's Jason, in a hockey mask, holding the harpoon gun, and she thinks it's Shelly playing a joke on her. It is not Shelly, it is Jason, and he shoots the harpoon gun
from the dock
3D right into her fucking eyeball, and she dies.
So yeah, you see from Vera's point of view, she's like on a boat, right?
No, she's standing in the water.
Or she's standing out in the water, and some distance away from this dock, and then you see Jason like come up on the dock and stare at her and point the harpoon gun, and the whole time you just know you're gonna see a 3D effect of like Jason shooting this projectile at
That's
the screen.
that's like, I feel like as far as use of 3D, that one's really good. That's a really good one.
Yeah, it's cool looking, and it's funny to imagine like the Friday the 13th fans seeing this when it came out, because this like movie did really, like, by the time this one came out, the third one, it was really popular in the theaters, probably because of its like new for the time 3D technology.
Yeah.
But I just imagine a theater full of people getting this harpoon gun shot at the screen and cheering because the effect is cool.
Yeah.
Dude.
Dude.
It's like Jason shooting the crowd of people.
Hard rip for our girl Vera, who had to spend her last moments being like creeped out by fucking Shelly. So sorry, girly. Andy and Debbie have intercourse in a hammock. Oh, by the way, Chris for some reason gives the fucking couple who are obviously the most horny for each other like the room that only has a hammock and not a bed.
Yeah.
Which is kind of a dick move, I feel like, but they're into it. So they fuck in the hammock, and then Debbie starts like taking a shower, and Andy for some reason just is in the mood to start walking on his hands. So he's just like,
More clownery.
yeah, just being full clown mode, circus vibes. He's walking on his hands down the hallway to grab Debbie a beer, which I'm just realizing she asked for
Shower
a
beer.
beer. She asked for a shower beer, and she's pregnant. Debbie, what are you doing, girly? Anyways, Andy sees Jason's like feet and like looks up, and Jason fucking chops him right down the middle with
He
the machete.
splits him.
Just oof.
It's like a brutal hit too. 'Cause
Yeah.
the way the body collapses, like when Jason slams his machete down on it, it looks like forceful.
Yeah.
Like, not only did Jason cut this person, but it's like not like some clean, like today if that happened it would just slice through the person. Here it's like
Yeah.
half club, half machete cut, so it just looks gnarly.
Yeah.
It looks weird. Like his legs are falling. It's weird.
Yeah.
Because he's walking on his hands, the camera angle they show when he gets sliced is from above and you see his feet.
Mm-hmm.
So it's already disorienting.
It's pretty wild. That's a good kill.
Maybe the best.
Maybe, but we'll see. So Debbie finishes her shower and she rests on on the hammock reading a Fangoria magazine with an article written about our boy Tom Savini. You can see in that's like a fun little Easter egg that we noticed.
Yeah, for the first movie, since Tom did the effects on that
Oh,
one.
yeah,
And part 4.
She notices Andy's like corpse is like stuffed in the rafters right before she dies.
Oh yeah, and that's where you get to see like the guts and shit. You see like it's like his cross section of his body. It's pretty gross.
It's so gross.
And his
y'all.
body parts are just stuffed up in the rafter. Like Jason delicately like House of Cards this fucking guy's body on top of this little plank of wood. I'm like, that's carefully placed.
How does he fucking have the time?
Yeah, every movie he kills people, then he goes around like placing their corpses. He's like an artist kind of. Like he'll like pin them to the wall or like stuff them in a fridge.
Jason has a Bachelor of Fine Arts degree.
Probably.
Speaking of calling out to previous movie and makeup artist. Maybe they did this on purpose, being like, this is like an ode to you, my guy. So Jason thrusts a knife through Debbie's chest from underneath. And we see it like stab through, which kind of echoes our boy Kevin Bacon's death in Friday the 13th.
Mm-hmm. With the arrow
with the arrow through the neck. Which that effect was done by Tom Savini, right?
Mm-hmm.
So Tom Savini didn't do the effects in this movie, but I do like to think that was a little like...
Yeah, that has to be a callback, right?
A little cheeky callback. Yeah, definitely.
It's pretty cool. I think it might be more effective in the first movie, though, still.
Yeah.
Especially since we just saw some pretty crazy kills.
Mm-hmm. So, then the power goes out in the house, so Chuck, who's like the stoner dude, goes to the fucking... Oh, he has like a legendary scene where he fucking like takes a joint and he's like taking a shit in an outhouse and he's smoking a joint.
And he's all nervous.
And he's
going
like,
to the
ooh,
outhouse.
strong stuff. I think like Jason like shakes the outhouse or some shit and he's like...
No way.
Dude, I swear
Jason
to God, because
shakes the outhouse?
The outhouse
I don't remember
shakes.
that.
The outhouse like shakes, or he hears something. Something's like moving around, and he's like, "Whoa, strong stuff!" And then he just like goes back.
Imagine Jason like while you're taking a shit. Jason like he knows you're in there.
Dude.
He just goes up to your shit and he just shakes it. He's like, it's like fuck you. Jason knows
I'll save
about
that for
big
later.
dumps. As we've seen from his shack, he has a toilet. He's always thinking
He
about
absolutely has to have a toilet handy. He probably was fucking trying to take a little bathroom break in between him fucking bodying all the teens. And fucking Chuck was in there smoking. And he fucking was like, God damn it!
Yeah, Jason is just knocking on the outhouse door. That would be a funny way for Jason to kill this guy.
Dude, that
It
would...
should have gone that way.
That would be funny. But
Knock,
unfortunately,
hey, I'm in here.
Our boy Chuck goes to the basement to fix the like fuse box, but Jason grabs him and like throws him into the fuse box and electrocutes him.
Kind of a dumb one.
It's so lame, dude.
Because he just gets like pushed into the fuse box, and then there's just like
he gets like electrocuted.
animation sparks.
Yeah, there's no like goal. Like it's not very interesting.
He just kind of shakes.
Yeah. Chuck deserved better. I would have liked to see like a fucking like Jason.
Hit him with a bong.
Yeah, dude, like, okay, you have two fucking stoners in this movie. You make such a big deal about them being stoners, and then you don't even have, like, a creative, like, pot-related murder. Like, I just feel like that's such a waste, but...
That is kind of a waste.
Whatever. Anyways,
they are my two favorite characters.
Yeah,
though,
I mean...
in this movie. They might be us.
Yeah, let's be honest. These two are us. If
they have some funny and cute banter.
Yeah.
Between them.
Oh yeah.
She's like, they hear someone screaming, one of their friends screaming, like dying, and they're like, "Oh, they're just having sex or something," and they're like, and she's like, "I never make that sound when we're having sex."
Yeah.
And he's like, "You need to practice."
And then she just like screams.
Yeah. It's funny.
Yeah, it was cute. So Chili, who's Chuck's fiance.
Chili and Chuck?
Yes, dude. Chili and Chuck.
Alright, they're awesome.
Shelly opens the door. So like y'all remember Shelly. He gave Jason the hockey mask. Well, not gave him. Jason ripped it off. It was probably dead body. But somehow Shelly musters up the strength to walk through the front door, and his throat has been slit. So he's like,
He has a
you know.
machete slit throat. And they think it's a fucking gag.
Yeah.
Because he had an axe in his head earlier.
Yeah, dude. Like,
with realistic gore.
So she realizes that Shelly, like, is actually dead. And then she kind of, like, discovers, like, everyone's body in a pretty badly acted scene. Although I imagine they made her redo the scene. Apparently, like, for the 3D stuff, like, they were very, like, focused on the technical aspects of it more so than the acting. So the acting in this movie is not great. But to the actors' defense, I'm sure they had very long days where they just had to die over and over and over again. So
I will say, though, like, there's some moments where it stand out as bad, like this scene that we're talking about with her. She's bad at acting, but for most of the movie, I think they do a fine job.
Yeah.
Like, it's what you expect from this type of movie. It's like an almost self-aware sort of badness that they do. Like, it's campy.
Yeah.
They're like acting, like it's fake is what the way they're acting.
Yeah.
Like, people always say, like, these horror movies that we love so much, they're like, oh, they have bad acting. And I've never been one to think that, like, these performances that are, like, campy and more, like, amped up personalities and shit, I don't think of that as bad. I just think of it as, like, dramatic.
Exaggerated.
It's like an exaggerated performance.
I feel like slashers are very, like, self-referential. I feel like they're, like, I don't know, when you go into it, especially, like, ones that don't take themselves super seriously, like, I would say most of the Friday the 13th movies don't take themselves that seriously.
No.
Like, I don't know, you watch it with kind of like a wink wink nudge nudge type vibe.
Yeah. I think when I think of bad acting, I usually think of someone trying really hard to be good and failing.
Yeah.
So,
I feel like that's kind of like what we talked about in the last episode where we were talking about, like, the 2010s horror stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess we just like
Schmaltzy.
caricatures being killed, basically.
But yeah, it's a mixed bag of performances.
Yeah.
There's some bad and then there's some okay, and it's what you expect.
Yeah, totally. Chili gets poked in the stomach with
Chili
gets killed with a hot fire poker in 3D. So,
what did you think about that one?
Yeah, it was fine. It was like, I mean, you see it, like, go through, so it was kind of cool, but, like, I don't know, I feel like, honestly, besides the next kill we're gonna talk about, like, I feel like we had, like, a bunch of strong kills in a row, and then, like, two, like, I think, like, Chuck's death was, like, it kind of, like, made it lose steam a little bit, and so Chili's was sort of, like, picking back up from, like, the disappointment of, like, Chuck's death, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, Chili's kill is an interesting concept. It's more like that's a kill where you can start to see that Jason is getting creative or whatever with, like, as it becomes the norm for these movies, Jason, in future installments goes on to do, like, crazy things to kill people.
Yeah.
So this is more involved than just, like, machete to the throat. This is like he's got a hot fire pick that's been, like, cooking in a fire.
Yeah.
And he impale somebody.
Oof.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, and the sound and stuff. It's pretty good. It's good. It's a good one.
Yeah, it's good.
It's good.
It's memorable because it's
Yeah.
different than the others, is what I'm saying.
Yeah. And it's definitely one of the iconic ones of the movie, I would say. Because of the 3D. Our boy Rick's fucking punch buggy dies, so Rick and Chris walk back to the house and find it in disarray. So Rick steps outside to sort of like search the grounds, but Jason grabs him and crushes his skull with his bare hands, making one of his eyes pop out of the socket in 3D. It is so fucking sick. I mean, it's like a mix of like good, really good, and like you can just tell that the head is so fake.
Yeah.
But it's really good. I love this kill, especially because Rick is a fucking dickhead. So it's very satisfying, honestly, for me.
Yeah. You know, my favorite thing about this one is honestly the scene right before he gets killed where Chris is looking around for Rick in the house, and it's a POV shot from outside of the house. You can see both the window that Chrissy is in front of, and then to the right and below, you can see Jason covering Rick's mouth with his hand and holding him hostage.
Yeah.
About to kill him. So Jason is like keeping him from alerting Chrissy. And it's like weird to imagine Jason like being like a killer would be or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, like choking someone or trying
like
to
holding,
prevent people from
warning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then he's like, okay, but I'm gonna fucking crush your head.
Yeah, dude.
It's not like a neck snap or anything. It's like he's just gonna fucking crush his head.
That one's crazy.
He would definitely have screamed at that point, though. Yeah. And he doesn't, I don't think.
No, he goes like, But I think Chrissy is like looking throughout the house as she misses it. In a move that mimics the first movie, Jason hurls a dead Rick through the window at Chris. Because remember, what's her face? Debbie? Who knows?
Gets thrown through the window.
Yes.
Towards Alice.
By Mrs. Voorhees, somehow. So, Jason and Chris battle throughout the house, and Chris jumps through the window to escape.
You know what you just made me think of, though? Is this movie is like mimicking the first movie a lot in multiple different ways. It's almost like let's remake the first movie, but now it's the Jason series.
True. That's a good point.
Because we'll get to it.
Yeah.
There's another scene that is a switch around reference.
Yeah. I imagine it's like, so like, you know, there's like the Star Wars, like the first Star Wars movie that came out, and then like this.
Retroactively, there were prequels. I don't know if that's the same thing. But
no,
I get
like,
what you're saying.
the one, like the new one, the first one with like the Rey story and that shit, I felt like it's like the same formula where it's like, it starts like at a certain thing and then it ends with like, they explode the Death Star, basically, and it's like the same
let's
formula.
Just somehow make it new, but the exact same thing, and change all the names slightly.
Yeah. So, after Chris, like, jumps through the window and escapes the house, she tries to flee in the van, but as y'all should remember, the gang of chain and egg punks emptied the van. So Jason catches up to her and tries to like grab her through the window on a rickety bridge. Chris, like, escapes the van, and then I think the van, like, falls through the bridge.
Yep.
With Jason, like, kind of trapped in it, but then he breaks free, and we see Jason run in this movie, like, and it looks really weird.
Yeah.
Jason's, like, much better.
Fast walks.
Yeah, he runs after her, after the car. Like, I remember looking at it and being like, our guy is fully running, and it does not look scary at all.
Well, Jason does run in a few other movies that I can think of, and it's more scary in those movies.
I'm just picture him like, I mean, like that screenshot you shared me of, like, Jason's ass.
So, Jason's thick.
Jason Voorhees' ass.
He got a thickie.
But, like, that, I remember that still was from, I think it was from part 6, and he's speed walking in that one. This was when he was chasing after one of the, wow, I can't even believe I'm remembering this, but this is when he was chasing after one of the paintballers, and he's sort of, like, walking quickly. He's much scarier,
but you also
as a power walker.
You see him run in part 4 too, like fully run.
Mm.
And I think the mistake that this movie makes with showing Jason is they show his whole body from far away. Which is just like, everyone looks awkward when they walk or run.
Yeah.
And you see their whole body, like, from above.
That's so true.
Like, Jason would look much scarier if he looked bigger on the screen and was, like, running towards you. Mm-hmm. But whatever.
Fuck it. Still scary, I guess. So Chrissy escapes and makes her way to the barn. So while they're inside the barn, basically, like, she for some reason, like, hangs on a rafter. And then, like, Jason's, like, looking around, and she, like, falls on him. But then, like, they sort of, like, fight, and then, Ali, who was the chain punk that punched the windows of the, like, punch buggy or whatever,
Okay, wait a second.
Oh.
Since it's the third time you've said punch buggy, what is that?
That's like a beetle, or...
Is it just a nut? Is that your word for, like, a Volkswagen bug?
Yeah. You never heard of punch buggy?
No, man.
Like,
I thought that was a game, like punch buggy. No punch
so when
back.
you see, like, a Volkswagen, like, you see a Volkswagen, so let's say it's, like, green, you, like, turn to your, like, sibling and go, like, green punch buggy, no punch back, and then you, like, punch them. So I'm just calling it a punch buggy because
Well, he does punch the buggy.
He literally does.
Ali do be punching the buggy. Is that his name?
Yeah, Ali Doobie.
He do be though.
He do be that. So Ali, turns out he is alive, and did we even talk about, I don't even think we talked about Ali checking, oh my gosh, I don't even think we talked about this, wow.
Well, Loco gets killed, right? And then you see
Jason,
Ali
like,
comes in and sees the woman chain punk pinned to the rafter.
No,
and
that's
then
Loco.
The body, Loco, falls on top of
Ali. Ali doesn't ever see Fox's body. He only sees Loco's body.
Oh, well.
It doesn't really matter.
Loco gets thrown onto Ali.
Mm-hmm. And then Jason and him, like, fight, and then, like, Jason, like, bitch slaps Ollie and then, like, beats him, presumably to death, but then it's revealed that Ollie survived the attack, and he tries to attack Jason, and Jason, like, immediately, like, chops off his arm and then like overkill like machetes him like
beats him again
over and
but
over
with a
and over
machete
again.
this time.
Yeah. So, but while he's doing that, Chris strikes Jason over the head with a shovel, and then she hangs him like from the barn with the rope. That's like kind of hanging from the second floor. And then she goes to open the door to the barn. She opens it, and Jason's like alive and trying to like get out of the noose, and he lifts up his mask, and she for the first time realizes that it's the same person that attacked her 2 years prior, and we see his like fucked up looking face, and then
he shows it.
Yeah. Well,
and he shows it to remind her that he says, yeah, bitch, I'm that guy.
I thought he showed it just like by accident because he needed to lift the mask to get the noose off.
It looked to me like he fully lifted the mask up to reveal his face to her, and he kind of even like smiles. I think.
True.
And like he smiles in like a Sloth from the Goonies type of way.
Yeah.
He's basically like Sloth from the Goonies, the killer, and so he lifts the mask up, like gives a little wink, and then puts it back down. Dude, I just want to talk about, like, we can make it quick, but what the fuck does this mean for Jason? Like, so the last movie we see Jason unmasked. He's got the long hair. He's got the beard. Mm-hmm. He looks man-like. Mm-hmm. Everything, like the way he gets hurt and he gets punched and downed and stuff, and like seems human. And he's got a toilet in his shack. He takes shits. He's human. And then in this movie, Jason gets fully hung. Neck snappingly hung from like 2 stories, like the top of a barn. And his neck like snaps and he dangles there. And then he comes back to life, pulls himself up by his own strength, and unhangs himself, and then continues killing.
Yeah.
So I'm like, Jason, are you a zombie? That's where I start to wonder, like, has Jason always been a zombie? Like, did Jason drown and come back to life because of the, like, evil in the lake or something?
Yeah. I mean, that would make sense, honestly.
It's never...
That would make the most amount of sense in this fucking...
As far as I know, it's never confirmed anywhere, but, like... it's just weird to think about if you tried to make sense of it. Like... Has Jason been a zombie this whole time?
There's definitely some sort of mystical element that makes Jason an unstoppable force, but I don't think he's like fully a zombie at this point.
Yeah.
But he's getting there. I think he's just very hard. He's just a man that's very hard to kill. I mean, like, I feel like he just becomes more and more, like, not human, like, every franchise.
Definitely. Every episode.
Every episode.
Every installment.
Of our podcast. I thought this was, okay, I thought that Chris hung him after he killed Ali, but actually, I think Ali tries to attack Jason. And okay, yeah, that makes sense. Okay, so it doesn't even matter that I said it out of order, but basically, like, when Ali, like, goes to try to attack and kill Jason, Jason chops off his arm, and then kills him. So while he's being distracted by murdering Ali, like, overkill vibes, Chris strikes Jason in the head with an axe, giving him the iconic,
slit in his
mask.
Yeah.
And he staggers momentarily towards her before finally collapsing, and then Chris pushes a canoe out into the lake and falls asleep, directly mimicking exactly what Alice did in the first movie.
This whole scene is like where this movie starts to seem like a remake, like a more big budget remake of the first movie, but now Jason is the iconic killer that's been established. Because they kind of retcon some shit from the second movie that just happened by changing the way Jason looks and stuff. And, it's like the plot is very similar to the first movie, just without the Pamela Voorhees stuff, basically. And so when she goes out in the raft, she's out there, and then a zombie Pamela Voorhees, who's been drowned now, and it has like leeches or worms and shit on her, and is like a rotting corpse, jumps out of the water, pulls her under in the canoe. Like, it's just like the surprise ending from the first movie, but Jason is the main character, not Pamela.
And before she gets pulled into the water by Pamela, she sees like Jason fully unmasked. This is like the most we see of Jason. Like, I feel like, we'll see in the future, but like he's like fully not masked. He's fully like, he looks so scary.
He looks like Sloth from the Goonies, but he's bloodied in this scene, because implying that, so after getting axed in the head, seemingly killed, he removes the axe, removes his mask, goes upstairs.
Yeah, he's like peeking through the window, and he's
of the upstairs,
roaring, basically.
And he's like screaming and shaking, like he's excited to come kill you because you're still alive.
Yeah.
And then he runs out the front door a few moments later and is running towards her, and then she gets pulled under by zombie Pamela. And then that was all a dream.
Yeah.
Or like a nightmare. And she was just... What? It was just like... She wakes up. Yeah. The cops are pulling her in. And... then she gets taken away, and they just leave Jason's corpse.
Yeah, they just leave him there, and that so they don't.
They just save her. They're like, yeah, all the dead bodies are in there. Yep, that was all of them, or whatever. And then they're like, yeah, here's this dead. Here's the killer. He's dead. And then they just take this last remaining Chrissy and leave the scene of the crime. And I'm just like, the killer's corpse is like still bloody with an axe in it. Like, aren't you gonna have someone on scene?
Yeah,
like someone could come tamper with this fucking body. Like, what kind of cop protocol is this?
Yeah, I don't know. That's fucking weird.
It leads us to more movies.
Yay! And this is.
Do you see him disappear?
No, he literally. Okay, the movie literally ends. We get the shot of Jason just, like, lying in the barn. And then we don't see him move or anything. And then we just get a shot of the lake. And then that's it. So, we have seen part 4. So I am remembering that, like, that movie does start where this movie ends. But, that was Friday the 13th part 3. We did it. Yay. I love this movie.
We got to Jason Mask.
We got to the iconic look, guys. See, we did it together, okay? We got through Baghead Jason, and we got through Jason's mommy. So now from now on, it's OG.
Proper Friday the 13th in full force from here on out.
So what do you think of Hockey Mask Jason? What do you think of the Jason that's in this movie compared to other Friday the 13th villains?
So, definitely not my favorite Jason still. But I like the hockey mask look more than the Baghead look, of course. But, like, his attire and the way his face looks unmasked isn't my favorite. Like, I'm not the biggest fan of the practical effects makeup in this one. I just think it's not as well done in a lot of ways, and it does have that, like, Sloth from the Goonies kind of, like, prosthetics look. But yeah, I mean, it's a step in the right direction. He definitely looks more hulking in
Yeah.
this movie than the previous movie.
He's very large. Like, he looks like...
He's wide.
Yeah.
He's thick.
Body, yaddy, yaddy,
He's got a
yaddy.
fat neck. I just wish he wasn't completely bald.
Yeah.
Like,
Let's get some hair on our boy.
I swear he doesn't even have eyebrows.
Yeah,
Maybe
he doesn't. He literally doesn't. It's like, yeah, he looks very different. But, I would say I like this Jason more than Baghead Jason. He's my favorite Jason. Well, we've only seen, I guess, like, we saw a Jason in Friday the 13th.
Kid Jason.
There's Kid Jason. He's my favorite Jason that we've seen so far, but believe me, he gets better and better. He ages like a fine wine, y'all. That gets, like, murdered at least 5 times and yet still comes back to kill. But yeah, I liked him. I thought that he really gets his stride in terms of creative kills and iconic kills, and I think the 3D really added to that. And
yeah,
I thought it was, I liked him in this. I liked him in this. Jason. Great job, Jason.
Yeah, I mean, it's good. It's a good performance. I think maybe the movements of, like, how Jason walks and, like, moves and attacks is scarier in part 2 than in this one, because there's a goofy scene in part 3 where he's running, like you were talking about.
Yeah.
And that just kind of just takes the air out of all of the air out of the character being scary, you know? It's like,
yeah. Even the, like, that final dream sequence, which, like, I feel like is supposed to be scary, is sort of, like, goofy. Because he's, like, he's smiling, kind of. And I think it's just, like,
like a smile.
His face, maybe, but it just looks like, again, like Craig keeps saying, like, it looks like Sloth from the Goonies, so it's, like, not that scary.
Which I'm pretty sure came out after this, anyways. But
they probably just reused the same prosthetic.
That would be funny.
But
I do really like the hockey mask. I like the specific hockey mask that they chose that, like, became iconic with the red triangles on it and such. It's creepy, and it has the top strap too. That's also very, like, I noticed that a lot because he's bald. You can see at certain angles, like, this top black strap and on the sides, and it just looks brutal. It looks like a executioner's mask or something in a way.
Dude.
And I like the slit that the
Chris puts in
the axe slit in that's bloody. That's pretty iconic. I like that they keep that continuity throughout the movies, like, changes to, like, Jason gets more battered and corpse-like each movie. You know what I mean? Like, he gets damaged, and they keep the thing, like, he has that axe mark in his mask from here on out. Which is cool.
Yeah. Well,
that's all.
Yeah.
About Jason's look in this movie, but
so
not bad.
Yeah. So, you know, the podcast is called Murders Per Gallon of Popcorn, so we would be remiss to not speak on the actual murders that take place in this film. So, here we go, the breakdown, and we will say our faves. So, in this movie, there is 12 total kills. Well, 13 if you include Debbie's unborn child. So, tough stuff for that. So, anyway.
All right, let's get through these boring ones. We got Harold. He's the guy who gets killed first, axe in the chest. Then we got his wife, Edna, who gets a slightly more interesting sewing needle through the back of the head and mouth. Then we got Fox, the female punk rocker chick, biker, who gets pinned to a rafter in a barn with a pickaxe or a fork. Pitchfork.
I couldn't remember the name for that either.
Loco gets how does Loco die? It's boring.
It's the same. It's a
Loco
pitchfork.
also gets the pitchfork into the guts.
Yeah.
Which is not that bad.
Yeah.
It's fine. Now Vera is where it gets interesting. So Vera is the one who's out on the water looking for Shelly, had just been scared by Shelly when Jason reveals himself as wearing the iconic hockey mask. The first time you see the killer's head in a shot, and you see him point a harpoon gun and shoot an arrow or harpoon or whatever right through her eye. And it's in 3D. Pretty iconic.
Yeah.
Next is Shelly, who gets, like, attacked off screen, but his, like, actual death happens when he comes in with his throat slit to warn the others, but they think that he's just playing a gag because he already once in this movie has shown, or multiple times, twice, I think, has shown up and pretended to be, like, injured or dying in a gory way. So it's like a
Boy Who Cried Wolf
kill. He dies because he was an asshole. Next, we have Andy, who had just finished having sex in a hammock, right?
Yeah, he was handstanding.
So he had just gotten his rocks off in a hammock, and while his girlfriend is taking a shower, right, he is doing handstands around the cabin like a fool. And Jason sees this as a perfect time to split him down the middle, crotch first. So Jason hammers a machete down on his junk and splits him down the middle up to his chest, and you see all of his guts and everything as he's splayed up on the rafters, and blood drips down onto Debbie, who gets killed the Kevin Bacon way, through the back, through the chest, with a knife. And then we have Chuck, our little stoner with the headband, who's out taking a dump in the outhouse while lighting a doobie. Taking a doobie.
We talked about that. It was like fuck, I wrote it down too. I don't know. The shit and toke.
The shit and toke.
We literally were like, the classic shit and toke, as if either of us have done that. Yeah.
Not to say that
I would be open to it, but
yeah. So he gets anyways, the stoner, he doesn't get killed in the outhouse toilet, unfortunately. Big missed opportunity for a toilet kill. Die like Elvis. And he instead goes into a random basement. I guess he wraps up his shit and walks to a basement. Jason just pushes him into a fuse box and he explodes. Next we got Chili. Not sure if that's her name.
It's Chili.
That's a dumb name.
I know, but she's a dumb character, so.
So, Chili gets the fire poker, scalding hot fire poker, impaled through her chest after one terrible acting performance. We might have the best one right here. Rick is in earshot of Chrissy, who is in the house, when Jason catches him and covers his mouth, waits for Chrissy to go away, and then crushes his head between his hands like he's fucking popping a balloon, and an eyeball shoots out of the socket and at the viewer, marking our second 3D eyeball. Disembodied eyeball.
Love that for us.
Same. And our final kill goes to the biker, Ali. He made it pretty far.
Mm-hmm. And he didn't die without putting up a fight. So.
Yeah, he fought against Jason. He fought long. He fought hard.
Well, I wouldn't say he fought long.
But he got his hand cut off, and then he got hacked up to pieces.
Mm.
What did you think about those kills? And what are your top 3? And talk about them.
Okay, yeah. So top 3. I would say my third favorite has got to be third fave is probably Andy getting split in half. Second favorite is Vera getting the harpoon gun shot through the eyeball. And gotta give our boy Rick number 1 on multiple counts, including the fact that he was public enemy number 1 from the moment he showed up on screen because he was such a fucking asshole narcissist boyfriend. And so I was like, fuck you, Rick. So yeah, love that he died. And also, like, the fucking 3D eyeball, I just can't. It's so good. It's so good. To see that in theaters for again, time travel, go back, you ask anyone, like, what they would do. I would go back and experiencing, like, opening night of this movie in theaters, 3D, like, and just like with all of, like, my memories of, like, current cinema achievements, like, wiped from my memory, and I'm just like, this is peak. This is peak cinematic achievement. Yeah. Is Friday the 13th 3D. And that's what I think of when I see this scene. So, very iconic kills. This was hard. Like, yeah, there's a lot of really good ones. But, yeah, those are my top 3. What about you?
So, I'm going to say the same 3 you said, but I think in a different order. So, I know I hyped up Rick a lot, but the more I think about it, the more I kind of want to put Andy at number 1. I think Andy's kill is my favorite. I think it's the most brutal. Seeing the guts and shit is just gross. And just imagining your body ripping like a piece of paper or something. It's just like...
Oof. Dick first. Dick
first.
It
gets his dick cut. Like...
Ow.
With a machete. Yeah, it's just brutal. And he's doing a handstand and shit. Like... I don't know. Brutal way to go. So that's gonna be my favorite from this movie. Right behind it is Rick, who gets his eye popped for all the same reasons as Haley. And then my third is gonna be Vera with the harpoon gun through the eye. So if you guys were paying attention, that marks 3 eyeball deaths. There's Vera, there's Rick, and there is the unnamed eyeball from the Abel. Abel holds up. Yeah, whose
eyeball was that?
A random eyeball. So, being that there are 3 disembodied eyeballs in this movie, how many disembodied 3-dimensional eyeballs
Out of 3?
out of 3 do you
Would I
give
give
this
this
movie?
movie? Okay. I would give this movie 2 3D eyeballs and 1 2D eyeball. Because...
Wait, so 2 3Ds and 1 2D?
Yeah.
1 2D.
1 2D. Because... One, this, I would say, out of the 3 that we've reviewed so far, this one is the most fun, in my opinion. And I just think that the kills are the most creative. We finally see Jason at his most iconic, which is donning a hockey mask. Like that we get a little origin story there. I would say the 2D element, I was not very impressed with Chris as the final girl. I think it's a little hard because we're comparing her to our Queen Ginny. And we know that, we could have had a Ginny sequel, but it's fine. It still worked. It's still a great movie. Still fully recommend it. Chris just was a little bit, I don't know. She just didn't do it for me. I think, but at the same time, like, once she realized Rick was dead, she sort of goes into go mode, and she actually kind of fucks Jason up a lot. So actually, I think I'm talking myself out of not liking Chris, because she is the one that axes him in the head. She hangs him. She fucking hits him with a shovel. She stabs him in the leg.
She does a lot of things that should have killed him, but I feel like if this had been Pamela Voorhees, he would already be dead.
Yeah.
But because this is Big Bad 3 Jason, Part 3 Jason, he's unstoppable.
Yeah.
So she does some good moves.
Yeah. Respect. She's just, she's fine.
She's just a little bit... Let's just make this our final girl section for a moment.
Yeah.
She's just a little bit forgettable, maybe.
Yeah.
Like, not as many standout lines or moments.
Yeah.
The closest thing to it is this little bit of, like, incoherent backstory where she's talking about being chased through the woods, and it makes for, like, a cool cinematic moment. But the story, it's very hard to follow the story because it's so distracting watching both videos at once.
Yeah.
And thinking about...
And her acting is...
And the acting is a little lackluster.
She's like, and then he was chasing me through the woods.
Yeah.
And I'm like...
It's like one long monologue.
Yeah, it felt like we were watching an audition.
It was very... I liked it as a cinematic moment.
Yeah.
From the movie. I like when movies do weird shit like that seems out of place.
Yeah.
Because that did not seem in
Plus,
place in this movie that is otherwise very, like, blockbuster, like, gratuitous slasher movie.
Plus, we have seen the superimposed shots while, like, a character is, like, doing a monologue basically to camera, like she was in Pamela. Pamela in the first movie starts talking about Jason and gives, like, that backstory about how her son drowned, and we see superimposed Jason drowning.
Oh, yeah.
So that's
Wow,
also
you're right.
I mean, nothing in Friday the 13th Part 3 is new here, but
it the Star Wars analogy goes even further because, like, So J.J. Abrams did like The Force Awakens or whatever, and then they brought the other guy, Ryan Johnson, in to do the sequel, and he kind of undid a lot of shit.
Yeah.
And then J.J. Abrams was brought back on for the third one to fix it again. And so there's the first Friday the 13th, which is like Pamela kills people as revenge for Jason. And then the second one does things a little bit differently because it's like, actually, Jason is alive. Let's change the story. Jason's alive and killing. And then there's some weird elements with how it ends, with like Jenny psychoanalyzing Jason to trick him. This movie goes back and it's like, well, Jason doesn't look like that. Jason's not like that. It undoes the way Jason looks as a character, brings him back as like this new creature, kind of, and just retells the first movie, but it's Jason now.
Yeah.
And there's more violence. It's like turned up to 11.
What would you, out of 3D eyeballs, 3D eyeballs, what would you give this movie?
So let's give it 3 lowercase d out of 3 3D. Let's give it 3 lowercase d out of 3 capital D.
Interesting.
Eyeballs.
And what is your reason for that?
I mean, I really like it. I wouldn't call it my absolute favorite. I think the 3D effects, while they're quirky and like fun and interesting, I think the movie spends too much time focusing on this like novelty aspect.
Yeah.
Which leads to some interesting kills, but it's like, I think other parts of the movie could have been stronger if there wasn't such an emphasis on this like gimmick.
Technical gimmick. Yeah.
Which I think part 4 kind of solves a lot of that issue, because they're like, fuck it, like most kills we can get, let's just like up the kills even more. No 3D shit. Let's like kill Jason basically.
Part 4 is so good.
Yeah, part 4 of a 12-part series, by the way. Yeah, Jason dies.
Yeah, we're going to be covering this a lot. So, this is not the last time you will hear us talking about Friday the 13th.
Does it get the MPGP seal of approval?
Yeah.
You know, we've said our thoughts, we've had our piece with it. You know, whether we like it or not is whatever, but is this a movie that we could, with in good conscience, recommend to people as being something that is, we stand behind? I think so.
Yeah. It's a classic. It's like,
I think up until this point, all of them recommended.
Yeah.
And for different reasons too. Like, this movie is 80s as fuck. It's, you know, from the second you hear that disco theme and you see that it's a 3D movie, that this is an 80s slasher movie.
Yeah.
This is the first, like, really formulaic, tropey, like, 80s campy camp slasher in the series. You know, the other ones, they don't lean as heavily into the tropes as this one, I would say.
I said earlier, like, it's like we're watching caricatures being murdered.
Yeah, this movie is goofy and it's fun. I'm not gonna say it's lighthearted. It's definitely still scary at moments, but it's got more levity maybe than your average horror movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Lots of good things about this movie. Lots of interesting kills. It's like what we love from these type of movies.
Yeah.
It's the type of movie we look for this podcast. You know, it's an emphasis on kills. It's an emphasis on big scares, big performances, dramatic plot points.
Yeah.
You know, classic. Highly recommended.
Yeah, highly recommend. And it's, OG Jason hockey mask origin story. So, when you think of Friday the 13th, like, this Jason is what you think of. So,
Definitely.
yeah. So,
look out for our next episode. We're going to keep it a secret.
yeah. The next
it's
one,
not going to be Friday the 13th. We can tell you that. We'll get back to those shortly.
Yeah.
But it's going to be a different movie.
Yeah, y'all. So, I don't know, like, follow us on Instagram, mpgp_podcast. Also, you can listen to us on YouTube, Spotify, and you can now listen to us on Apple Podcasts, where you should, I don't know, like, subscribe, rate, and review us, and, just get us to the 5 stars that we so richly deserve. Okay, y'all. Well, this has been MPGP, Murders Per Gallon of Popcorn. I'm Haley.
And I'm Craig.
Good night.